Hello and welcome to my Yu-Gi-Oh channel. Make sure to subscribe for more daily Yu-Gi-Oh content. Today we're looking at an archetype called the Flower Fangs. These have been introduced within episode 30 to 35 of the Yu-Gi-Oh 7's anime, and they're actually getting some more actual support. These are physical cards, they're not just anime cards. And let's see how they actually power up the deck. First one is True Flower Fang Kunoichi Garand. It's a level 8 Earth Attribute Plant type effect monster with 2500 attack and 1500 defense. The requirement is to place one monster, it must be a plant type, from your graveyard on the bottom of the deck. And the effect is to special summon one monster, it must be a level 7 or lower plant type, from your hand to your field face up. The monster special summoned by this effect is placed on the bottom of its owner's deck during the end phase. Okay, I like the design of this card. I think actually they're starting to look at boosting the power levels of some of these monsters. They have been very slow to react to any kind of power creep. I understand why they don't want it to get to the original Yu-Gi-Oh series where that just accelerated to, too far, and they need to do something. That's why they've pretty much created a new brand of Yu-Gi-Oh for newer players. This is actually a decent card because stat lineup, okay, it's not brilliant for a level 8, it's fine, but most of the other monsters currently in the game aren't to a point where, they're overly destructive either. This lets you also summon out another monster as well as recovering one of the plant types, even though that goes to the bottom of the deck. Even though that applies also to the monster you special summon, you're able to just sacrifice it to tribute summon for something else. That way you're able to just bypass the effect. It mentions here that this card's name might be a wordplay between Garland and Runs, the latter being the character who used this card, so you've got a main character within the series as well who relies on this. The next card is Flower Fang Kunoichi Etranza. It's a level 7 Earth Attribute Plant type effect monster. Its requirement is you have to have Kunoichi Etranza in your graveyard, and the effect is to send one monster, it must be a plant type, from the hand to the graveyard. Then choose one Flower Fang Kunoichi Etranza in your graveyard and special summon it to your field face up. The monster special summoned by this effect is placed on the bottom of its owner's deck during the end phase. This turn, this card cannot attack directly, so you're able to bring back another version of this card. That's fine because that does help to just, if you can OTK in that turn, that's fine. Otherwise this is really so much of a vanilla monster, and the disadvantage is it cannot attack directly, so you'll want to use this against any monsters your opponent controls, and use the Etranza that you've revived actually to then attack your opponent directly if you can. Although you can also do the same thing as I mentioned before, where you can just sacrifice this monster to mitigate the downsides. The next card is Flower Fang Shinobi Gatring. It's a level 7 Earth Attribute Plant type monster with 2000 attack and 2400 defense. The requirement is to send 2 normal monsters, they must be plant type, from your hand to the graveyard. The effect is to choose up to 2 face-up attack position monsters that are level 8 or lower your opponent controls and destroy them, and inflict 500 damage to your opponent for each monster destroyed by this effect. This turn you can only attack with one monster. I think this is actually one of the more powerful cards that I've seen in the game for a while. Yes, it does require you to get rid of 2 normal monsters and they have to be plants from your hand, but to be able to get rid of just any 2 face-up attack position monsters with very limited restrictions, they have to be level 8 or lower. Most of those monsters will be that, unless they're maximum summon monsters, and then you're able to punish your opponent by doing 500 points of burn damage for each, so maximum that's 1000, plus even though it's restricted to only letting you attack with one monster, there's a reason for that. Say if your opponent only has 2 monsters on their field, it would be unfair to then let all your monsters attack as well. It would make it just too powerful. And it says here as a note, this card's name might be a wordplay between Gatling and Rinosuke, the latter being the character who used this card. So that's what they like to do, they like to combine some of the characters just so they make a bit more sense. And the final card, well, this is one of the other cards, it's Flower Fang Wolf Kurabana. It's a level 3 Earth Attribute Plant type normal monster, 800 attack, 1300 defense. group of grass ninjas who protect their lord from Isis while concealed in the shadow. Even if they are stuck down, they are strike back from the shadows of blades of grass. It's a normal monster, its stat lineup is quite balanced, but there isn't much to say about it. It's just there as part of the theme of the archetype. Most Rush Duel characters have monsters that are normal monsters as their tribute fodder, and this is the same with this. Kagero refers to the haze one can see in a hot day, when the air distorts the image of objects behind it. We also have Flower Fang Warrior Rindo. This is a level 4 Earth Attribute Plant type normal monster with 1300 attack and 1400 defense. A group of grass ninjas who secretly support Path to Victory while concealing themselves in the shadows. They continue to loyally serve their lord. Again, it's a normal monster. For a level 4, it's okay. There's not too much power creep at the moment, so it might see some initial play. Kagemusha refers to the body double of a Japanese lord or military official in medieval Japan. And we have the final card, which is Flower Fang Shadow Strike. This is a normal trap card. The requirement when an opponent's monster declares an attack on your face-up monster, it must be a plant type. Place 2 monsters that are plant type from your graveyard on the bottom of the deck in any order. The effect is to change all attack position monsters your opponent controls to face-up defense position. This is really good because, firstly, it's a way of recovering your plant type monsters even if they do go to the bottom of the deck. I know you can't recover them instantly, but if you're able to shuffle them at some further point, that's actually quite decent. It doesn't require your opponent's monsters to be any specific type, level or attribute, so it works against all of your opponent's monsters. So long as you're running a plant-based deck, this card works for any of them, and being able to punish them to put them all in defense position is essentially similar to something like a negate attack. It shuts your opponent being able to do anything unless they've got a counter card which can either negate this effect or be able to change that monster's battle position back to attack mode. It does say here as well, Kagefuna is a common game similar to Tag, but the goal is essentially to step on the other's shadow. I've heard of this, it has been referenced a couple of times within a certain few animes and cartoons. It was used in the, I think it's the original series of Bakugan by Shun Kurosaki, who was actually playing with, I think, his mum, who actually was younger than him in this game. They did that. There was also a variation of that in, I think it was Digimon Frontier, to do with shadows, and also I think it was used also in Bleach. I think it was one of the main captains, I think it was Shinsui Hiraku, who had this game with his sword where, I think it was Kageoni, where they had to try and step on each other's shadow and then slash away at the person. So it has been referenced a few times. There are probably other animes. If you know any of the others, just list those down below in the comments.